Okay, back to SPQR. This is what Agathocles Tower. Now, this is a tiny little cav battle from the Equus expansion that came out in C3I, which is available online at the GMT site. This is after Massinissa has sort of been ousted. I'm not sure what the political circumstances are. They give a little bit of a sketch here. Apparently Spirax or whatever ends up driving Massinissa out of Numenidia with only like 200 cav. And this is actually a follow-up on that, where we have some Carthaginian cav along with some Numenidians charging after Massinissa, chasing him down into an ambush that Scipio's arranged with his cav. And this should be a fast and fairly short scenario, just probably on one video. The Romans are outnumbered. There aren't any special rules, but they're hitting that column to begin with. And let's see, tactical quality, 27 for the Carthaginians, 28 for the Romans. And you would say, wait, the Romans are outnumbered? Yeah. They have a higher route ratio, higher quality essentially. But sheer numbers, which remember, that's the size value. So each of these Carthaginian units is bigger than the Roman units. It's not a big deal in terms of what it affects in combat. But when you're calculating what the route ratios are for these scenarios, it actually causes a problem for the Carthaginians, which is why the Carthaginians almost always route sooner, is because their pieces generally have larger point values. So when you route one piece, you're routing more. It's kind of wonky because it makes it hard to kind of design your own scenarios, I think. I would rather something that was a little bit more transparent. Anyway, we're going to get started on this one. Well, the important thing to do is to use, and this is weird because it means no scenario with an ambush is going to work without an elite leader, basically, in this fashion. And I think this is how an ambush would normally actually work. There would be this surprise. So maybe they'd have to make a special rule, hey, so-and-so is an elite leader for the first turn of this scenario, or it gets an initial activation. But in this case, Scipio wants to hit this column with everything he's got and basically wipe it out on one blow. Okay, so he's got the ability to give 2 line commands, or 1 ragged line command, which could cover all of this, and move everything forward. If we look at the column movement rules, the combat effect of column is tactical quality is reduced by 2. Okay, it's bad, but that's not the worst thing in the world. They may not attack or fire. Okay, expected. The only thing they can do is move. If attacked by an enemy unit, the attacking unit is automatically attack superior. Yeah, that's acceptable. But somewhere or another, and I missed it in reading that. I swear I saw it. Ah, yes. Okay. So the next one is if they're attacked, they automatically go back to combat formation at an extra cohesion hit, even if that routes them. Great. But they can't use orderly withdrawal or manipular line extension, which means they can't do anything. They're just sitting ducks right here. This is, there's nothing to this scenario. I'm just hitting that column. Okay, so I'll start that now. Well, the high quality of the Carthaginian and Numenidian units meant that they really didn't suffer much from the initial, not the attack, but the engagement die rolls. The Romans actually took more losses on that. But now, when we've got the advantage of the superiority of hitting the column, that's going to help a lot, I think. And we'll see how that turns out. So normally a flank hit like this wouldn't necessarily break this line, but here with the 2 tactical quality penalty, actually all that held was the one unit that wasn't attacked. The Romans had to kind of split up. They had one unit too few. And the other trailing unit back here, which managed to stay under its 6, it got a rather small result on it. The rest of them are all routing. Boom. Does that mean they're out of the battle? Of course not, but it is going to be really hard to rally that many troops quickly with the values that these leaders have. And here's the effect after that first attack. I forgot something, which is the pursuit of Cav. So we got a bunch of Carthaginians and a couple of Romans that chased them off the map. So yeah, I mean it definitely weakens things even more to remove those. But here's the thing. Whatever came off, that basically usually is a one-to-one correspondence. In this case, there wasn't, between the pursuing units and the ones that were destroyed. So actually, the smaller this force gets, as long as the Romans are getting smaller at the same time, I think the better it is for the Carthaginians, except for here's the thing. These cost them. So they're already at 23, or no, 22. 15 and 7 is 22. Route points. They can only lose one more unit, and they're off the board. So there's not a lot here, really. So here we're in one of those difficult situations for me in SPQR, because the next leader to go is this Prefect Equitus. Great. Well, if he goes, he can activate attacks. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's not going to get this guy, but he can activate all 3 of these. Now this one can't do anything too exciting, so he may not want to, but he can take the additional fatigue hits to launch more attacks than would normally happen, and more flank attacks. The Carthaginians don't want that to happen, so they're going to make a roll for their 4-point leader back here and see if they can trump. They failed, and that means he's finished. Now here's the problem. He had a 50-50 chance of getting out of this situation. Now it's perhaps less important to actually hit these units. There may be other options to take. So instead, I'll rally some of my cav and see if I can get a continuation. So I'll rally this guy. And I'll rally this guy. I can't do this guy again because he's in the zone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide down here, keeping him in command. And now I roll for my own continuation, which I don't get. But that's okay, because on next turn, those cav are going to be able to act. And that it's kind of a pain for Carthage. Now, I've got to decide what to do with him. So Hanno here has done a pretty good job. He's rallied a bunch of them. Didn't have any complete failures. He's got a continuation he just got. At this point, you know, I don't want him to do more damage. So I'm going to try to trump in with Scipio here. And that's successful. That ends Hanno. What it does do, Scipio will get his actions, but then Laelus will only get one. He can't check for momentum. No biggie there. But basically, I want to try to break up these units that have recovered if I can. Let me see what I can do. So Scipio rallied a few of these, and some of them may have actually been rallied already by him. That's okay as long as it's different leaders doing the activations from my reading. And launched a couple of attacks. Now that costs additional momentum costs this, but these are, well, this guy can get out of there. This guy could not, but I can move him like that. He takes 2 cohesion hits for his withdrawal. Oh, actually he could not, because he's pinned there. He can't go into that hex. Great. Okay, so the attacks are going to succeed as I planned. The only difference is I couldn't go around the back. Actually, I could. What I was going to say is I couldn't go around the back because there'd be no room to, there'd be room to get out, but there isn't. So, oh no, there'd be room this way. Yeah, I'm not sure how that works exactly. I'm going to leave these as flank attacks. I think that's more appropriate. Sometimes you got to kind of fudge the rules in this game. I'm sure they're sufficient. It's just, it's not worth looking them up all the time, right? Okay. So I've got a couple of attacks coming. This guy's not attacking. He hadn't been activated even, and even to rally or anything. Let's see what we get. Well, one of the Numidians was sturdy enough to hold up against this. Only took, I don't know, it's a total of 6, I think, now. These are potent quality units. The other one broke, but the Romans held off and didn't pursue it. It means they're going to be running quite far. Now, their retreat edge is not up in the north, but rather to the east. So they've got a long way to go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see it's going to take a couple turns before they withdraw from the board. So there are some chances to rally in there, which is kind of cool because that means this isn't a complete blowout. There is some pursuit and whatever. However, we are real close. One more unit in this round, and the battle is over. The Numidians will have withdrawn, or the Carthaginians will have withdrawn completely. And I think that's pretty likely, just given the amount of attacks I'm going to have available left. Scipio, however, failed his momentum roll, so he's done. And now we're going to be on Laelus. And Laelus drives the Roman cav that he's able to reach into, hurts them with tactical quality. They take a hit each, but he drives them a little bit further to hit the rear of the Carthaginian forces. And this will be kind of the last action before Massinissa, who might have a shot in on something here, if he can manage it. Well, we essentially got an end of the battle situation here. One of the Roman cav actually routed from hitting in the Carthaginians in the rear, but another one managed to rout the Carthaginians. But it did not pursue, which is how you would have expected it to destroy something. Instead, it caught another Carthaginian unit in its zone, forced it to make a roll, and drove it away. Even if it wasn't happening, the 1, 2, 3, 4, oh no, they're heading this way. Yeah. Okay, so there's a long retreat ahead otherwise. But we got the 4 hits in one round. That's going to be it. I'll run Massinissa, see if he can get an attack in as well. And well, there we come to the end. Massinissa broke a couple of units without getting killed. Another one off the map, actually, that he caught up with without pursuing. And so we've got, what, 1, 2, 3... 21, 37 points. It took about 28 to end this scenario, I think. 27. So, not much the Carthaginians can do in this. Just a nice way to kind of show off how the system works in this particular situation that you never actually see in a game normally. It's interesting. Can't be too upset because it's something I printed out off their website, but I think I would not be thrilled with what I've seen so far of the Equus expansion. I don't think it could have been. I think there was an intention to publish it as its own expansion, but then they stuck it into a C3I because they decided, this just isn't enough. There's not enough meat. But it's one of the things that keeps me from doing the C3I is that, at least with the things I'm most interested in, say, Great Battles of History, I think I'm going to be getting stuff that couldn't fit into an expansion nicely. Something like this, where the scenarios are just, too many of them are too questionable. Although, honestly, some of the scenarios in some of the other ones have been pretty good. And it's very tempting to want the whole magazine for just the Great Battles of History stuff, especially since I do like enough of the other GMT stuff. So I'm beginning to consider picking these up as they come out depending. Because, you know, even with things like Labyrinth, now I own it. When the magazine came out for it, I didn't, you know, for the recent expansions for Labyrinth, and I said, yeah, you know, I don't want something that's focused on a game I don't even want. But, you know, maybe it's just a good idea that I like GMT enough that I'm probably going to end up picking up most of their games. We'll see. Up this goes.